by believing in ourselves, but by investing in each other, in our skills, in our talent, in our people. And together, we, Canadians, will build Canada strong. Thank you very much. Merci. Be happy to answer your questions. We are facing the biggest crisis of our lifetimes. And as we saw, unfortunately, once again, I'm going to say last week, but I think it was just earlier this week. It's just earlier this week. It's the same week. President Trump is trying to fundamentally restructure the U.S. economy, and in the process, he's disrupting, really, the international trading system that we've known all our lives and rupturing.
Canada is standing firm and taking action, showing the world how to effectively lead resistance and opposition on an international stage against Donald Trump. They are demonstrating the power of collective action. Take a look at this. Consider the flights from Vancouver to Phoenix, or really any route from Canada to the United States. Where are all the passengers? They're boycotting. Canadians are not backing down. They're making it clear they aren't showing up. And why? Because Donald Trump is making threats of annexation. He's not just waging a trade war. He's using rhetoric that echoes the language of actual warfare, similar to what Putin used to justify the illegal invasion of Ukraine. Trump's claims about Canada, accusing them of smuggling fentanyl to harm Americans, are completely false, defamatory, and unjust. But Canada is standing strong, so Canadians, take a moment to relax and appreciate the picture being painted here. Chapman's, the exclusive ice cream brand, truly some of the finest Canada has to offer. Just look at these delicious ice cream bars. We've also got some other great Canadian snacks right here, supporting local products. Take a glance at the headline from the Financial. End of text. Times Us vacation hotspots brace for slump as angry Canadians cancel trips Trump's threats of annexation and tariffs hit the country's largest international tourist market. I believe we've moved beyond the stage of simply bracing ourselves. We're now in the part of the situation where the pain is actually being felt, and that's largely due to the chaotic nature of Donald Trump's regime. When I read articles from the Financial Times, it's clear these are the same people who once claimed we expect financial growth under Trump, though it may be a bit sluggish. Yet their financial predictions are consistently inaccurate. Take a look at this. There's a quote from someone in the travel industry, Adam Sachs, who's projecting a $9 billion loss and a 20% drop in travel from Canada. But let me be clear, it's not going to be just a 20% decline. The reality is that we could see a 75% to 80% drop in travel. Right now, the Canadian boycott is so strong that these numbers need to be scaled up significantly. We're talking about a loss of 10 to 15 times more than what's being projected for the American tourism industry. Places like Vegas, Florida, and even Maine are feeling the impact, with businesses reporting a staggering 85 to 90% decline in activity. This article from Axios underscores the severity of the situation. Canadian snowbirds are selling their U.S. homes. Canadians are making it clear they're not coming to the U.S., and it's not just because Donald Trump is threatening war. There's also the risk of health outbreaks, like the recent measles cases in the U.S. Another person has died from it. These old pandemics are making a comeback, all while being fueled by an anti-vax agenda led by the head of the health department. On top of that, with the Trump administration, you might find yourself detained in ICE centers or deported to places like El Salvador's detention camps. With this regime, who knows what could happen next? For example, you could have a tattoo, say an autism awareness tattoo, and the authorities could add it to some bizarre formula that assigns it 6 points, labeling you as trendy. There's no due process, no fairness, just an absurd, chaotic system. It's one of the most outrageous regimes we've seen in the US. On another note, check out the bread aisle right here. This person goes, "I sell bread. Is this a little overkill with all of the baked in Canada?" That ain't overkill right there. That's fantastic. Take a look at a Canadian sharing this as well. Sure, not an American strawberry in sight. Mexican and Canadian only. I want to share something with you. Prime Minister Mark Carney recently delivered an outstanding standing speech in Oakville, Ontario. In his address, he discussed the importance of the skilled trades workforce, and it was a powerful speech overall. However, there were specific parts where he focused on the United States. He made it clear that Canada is prepared to retaliate against the US. He also outlined the transition phase from Trudeau to Carney and clarified the powers and authorities involved. Despite this transition, Prime Minister Carney made one thing clear: Canada will respond and the US will feel the consequences. Watch this.
Counter tariffs and other counter tariff measures. We are putting it in place. So the cost to American-based manufacturers has changed dramatically with the tariffs that we have put in place. We do that with regret in the sense of we're responding to unjustified, illegal, and misguided tariffs in the United States. Vehicle production in the United States, vehicle purchases in the United States, economic activity in the United States, jobs in the auto sector in the United States, all of those are going to go down. They are going to go down. The U.S. is harming themselves with these tariffs. Okay? It takes some time for that to filter through, just like it took some time for the impacts of Brexit to filter through to the UK economy. But I have seen this movie before. I know exactly what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen to them. The Americans are going to get weaker. We are going to stand by our workers. We are standing by our companies. We are building new trade relationships. We are going to stay strong and get stronger.
Prime Minister Carney, in his speech, touched on several key points. By the way, as many of you know, the snap elections in Canada are scheduled for April 28th. For our international viewers, Canada's political system works a bit differently. You vote for the party, and the two main parties are the Liberal Party and the Conservative Party. There are also other parties like the New Democratic Party and the Green Party, but the Liberals and Conservatives dominate right now. Many people expect the Liberal Party to win, especially given how Pierre Poilievre, PV, and the Conservative Party have been leaning heavily toward a Maple MAGA style, especially after Trump's disastrous actions. Before all of this, PV had already been following Trump's playbook. He even sent Danielle Smith from Alberta to Florida recently to try to meddle with US elections, just a part of this whole troubling saga. Anyway, back to Prime Minister Carney, who clearly laid out that Canada's path won't be easy, but that America will ultimately feel the impact. Watch this.
That there are future job cuts, higher inflation, and likely an American recession ahead. So we're going to protect our workers, we're going to fight back, we're going to build, we're going to get stronger, they're going to get weaker, we're going to get a deal in the end. En ce qui concerne, c'est une question plus générale que ça, mais la réponse la stratégie du gouvernement que nous mettons en œuvre, c'est de se battre contre les tarifs avec les contre-tarifs canadiens, y compris pour le secteur automobile. Et ce n'est plus le cas que les véhicules américains pourraient être vendus au Canada sans tarif. Ça, déjà, change. OK? Première chose. Deuxièmement, de protéger les travailleurs canadiens et les entreprises canadiennes, y compris GM au Canada, avec le financement favorable et d'autres initiatives. Il y en a plusieurs. En somme, c'est à peu près 20 milliards de dollars. Point final. On bat une nouvelle industrie canadienne avec une fonds de réponse stratégique. Okay?
Mr. Carney, last week, or actually earlier this week, as Prime Minister, you spoke about putting in place a framework in which you can help or convince auto manufacturers to stay in Canada, to fend off, to protect them from Canadian tariffs. I am wondering about this framework. When is it going to be in place? This is a fast-moving process.
Yep.
As I mentioned, this plant could be closed in weeks before the election. What can you do now in terms of adding pressure? Are you going to put in any punitive penalties?
Thank you for the question. So, as you know, Judy, during an election period, what a government can do is more limited, a so-called caretaker period, which does exist now. What we did as a government in anticipation of this, to the maximum extent that we could in advance of the election, is have authorization to put in place tariffs, counter-tariffs and other counter-tariff measures. We are putting it in place. So the cost to American-based manufacturers has changed dramatically with the tariffs that we have put in place. We do that with regret in the sense of we're responding to unjustified, illegal, and misguided tariffs in the United States. Vehicle production in the United States, vehicle purchases in the United States, economic activity in the United States, jobs in the auto sector in the United States, all of those are going to go down. They are going to go down. The U.S. is harming themselves with these tariffs. Okay? It takes some time for that to filter through, just like it took some time for the impacts of Brexit to filter through to the UK economy. But I have seen this movie before. I know exactly what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen to them. The Americans are going to get weaker. We are going to stand by our workers. We are standing by our companies. We are building new trade relationships. We are going to stay strong and get stronger.